Hey, hello. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to my presentation about international e-commerce expansion. That's my favorite topic. I've been doing that already over 12 years for different companies, and this is something what really makes me passionate. And I believe that the topic is so important for all of the companies, and I would like to explain to you why. So my name is Paulina Jeleszuk, and I'm an e-commerce manager and also an e-commerce consultant. I've been supporting a lot of German companies and also international companies that wanted to start operating abroad. And today we are going to talk a bit about uncertain times, because sometimes we think that German market is like a kind of comfort zone for us. For many companies, the growth that we were observing back then was something that would attract us to the German market. But today I would like to talk to you also about kind of different aspects and challenges that we are facing right now and why it would be so important to also think about expansion. So let me show you what we're going to talk about today. So I decided to concentrate on 3 points. First of all, we are going to talk about the key challenges for the e-commerce sector. And here I would like to concentrate on Europe, and also because of many companies here, I believe, are from Germany, or actually sometimes they operate on the German market. That's why I would like to tell you something about that. And then another question, I hear it very often from my customers when I work as a consultant: do we still have time and room for expansion? And I would like to talk to you about it as well, about chances, where we can go, and actually why we should do it. And in the end, I'm going to talk about my experience also as a consultant with my customers that decided to go abroad and decided to operate in different markets. Because here, first of all, what we would like to avoid unnecessary expenses. We wouldn't like to spend a lot of money, because first we would like to try actually if the market is going to be profitable for us, if everything is going to work the way we expected. So let's start. I hope, just like a quick reminder, I would like to show you data from 2025, and I've seen a couple of presentations with a data like that today, so I think that you are already familiar with that. What can we see here? These are top 10 e-commerce markets worldwide. Of course, in trillion, we have here China, followed by the United States, and then if we talk about European countries, number 3, the UK, then we have Japan, South Korea, and a really good position of the German market, because it's number 6. I was checking some reports, and actually, even last week, there was a lot of information about potential growth of the German market. It's still growing, but it's not growing the way we expected. So that's why it's also worth checking where we can go, what we can go, and what we can do next. Because sometimes it's important, when the time is right, to leave the comfort zone and start concentrating on different opportunities that are going to give us and generate additional revenue. So I decided to select 5 top challenges, key challenges for e-commerce sector right now that I would like to discuss. And first of all, the I'm sorry, it's difficult to pronounce the word, geopolitical changes. And here I'm going to talk not only about ongoing, but also, new conflicts in the region. The way they influence e-commerce sector, it's really problematic for the companies, because you can see that operational costs are getting really high. It's connected to high energy cost, disrupted supply chains. But in the end, what is important for us, for brands, is that we cannot offer products at the same price as we could do before. And this is what customers expect from us. And here we are going to talk about point number 2, economic instability, inflation, and recession. So I think that when we travel, especially when we travel to places that we believe some time ago that were kind of cheaper, now we don't see this difference anymore. And the same about the product prices. So the soaring inflation, and I can say it's globally. That's also something that influences customer behaviors. I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. And also, as for the German market, and one of the reasons I told you it's time to leave the comfort zone and also exploring different possibilities is the recession. It is believed that 2025 is going to be the third year in a row when German market is going to enter into recession. And actually, a lot of different institutes are talking about it. So that's why I would like to just tell you that it's really worth checking outside Germany and also outside Europe. Point number 3, really interesting, and I hope that you agree with me that it might be really expensive for the companies. So first of all, European Union directives, all of the regulations that are super consumer friendly. I believe that we Europeans, we are really lucky because we are completely protected by law. We can complain about everything and it's going to be actually solved by the companies. But the implementation of regulations, and I'm not talking about only those directly related to customers, but also like a GDPR that we all know, and environmental directives. And really, really important point, I think you're going to hear about it in 2025 a lot. This is also 30 price, best price. This is going to be a big topic, so please remember about it. I'm going to come back to that afterwards. But what is a challenge here? A challenge is, first of all, that implementation sometimes is really difficult for the company. It is expensive, and on the other hand, it's not only about implementation, it's about institutions checking the regulations, and in some countries, they are really demanding. So you can see that, what you can see here in Europe is that sometimes Germany is not so strict if you compare it to different countries. For example, if you compare it to Poland, when we have a lot of institutions monitoring shops and they really want us to be compliant. So being compliant means you need to generate extra revenue also to be able to be compliant. And point number 4, high cost of technological acceleration. What I wanted to say by that is that now it's not even a question if your shop can be innovative and modern. It needs to be innovative, especially if you're a big brand. You cannot wait for the competition to develop, all of these nice AI tools and also create a kind of shop that would have simple layout where customers would be happy with the time. Like everything here is important, but this is expensive. And that's why we see that shops that are kind of like ahead are big brands, because big brands have a bigger budget so that they can invest also like in tools like that. But also point number 5 that I think is crucial, and we are going to talk about it in 25 also a lot, are big players from China. And I'm still struggling how to pronounce correctly the name of the company, if it's Shein or if it's Shein. But together with Temu, these big players from China are like playing really significant role, and especially on European market. If you check data from France, if you check data from Spain, you can see that they are growing every year. And also something really interesting, I'm going to show you that on the next slide, is Temu, because Temu in Q1 2024, that was the most downloaded application in Germany, what also shows us the direction. So as I mentioned, because I like to confirm everything with data and with quotes, of course, the indicators that Germany is going to face the recession next time. Also, Chinese retailers, you can also see a really interesting fact that more people download Temu than Amazon application. This is something what we also should think about. The application counted almost 550 million downloads in January 25. The app was downloaded beyond 49 million times all over the world, making it more popular than Amazon Marketplace app. And this is something what we also should take into consideration. I also told you about regulations. We cannot forget about President Trump and what is happening in the US right now, because this is something that is going to also influence German economy a lot. And how? We don't know exactly how, because I have chosen for you like a really interesting, in my opinion, quotations talking about that this effect is going to be double-edged. Because from one side, we have countries that are going to have problems because of the tariffs like Canada or Mexico, and then from another side, what is going to happen if the tariffs are going to be imposed on European Union? And this is, of course, going to influence Germany a lot. When I was checking numbers, I wouldn't be optimistic. But let's wait. Let's see how this is going to develop. But I always tell my brands, you need to be prepared. You also need to see what is going to happen, because this is really important for you. And everything what I mentioned creates kind of like a key challenge, tension between progress and affordability, because business require significant investment to innovate if they want to stay competitive, of course, but customers are increasingly drawn to discounted prices. And this is what we observe. We observe a new customer type. Maybe it's not so new anymore, but these are my kind of conclusions that I would like to share with you. First of all, customers are really discount driven. And it's not that they, it's like a kind of something that they expect from us, from shop. They like promotions, they like buying on sale, and of course, like everything can be reflected with and presented with data. But this is something that it's really relevant. So all of your outlet sections, all of the sales, this is where you're going to generate a lot of revenue, because customers are waiting for that because of the points that I mentioned before. But at the same time, they expect seamless experience, they expect personalization, fast delivery, and this is also expensive. What we also realized is that sustainability, that was a really important topic a couple of years ago, it's still important, but it has dropped. The significance of sustainability, I'm going to tell you something like that. If you would have asked me 3 years ago, maybe I will tell you something else. But now customers, they prefer to pay less than to check sustainability. And this is also something what really changed on the German market. I was also checking data from Poland, the same situation, the same story. So price sensitivity is going to be a really big topic. And European regulations support customers' protection. I told you that already before, but I also observe, I think that we all observe that customers, they also learn that they have rights, that they have consumer rights, and they know how to use them. So they are informed. I think that it had been developing like for many, many years, but now we can see that our customers there are completely aware of their rights. What I also believe it's really, really good, but can be expensive for the brands. That's why I'm always telling you that it's worth thinking about where you can get extra revenue, because you want to be competitive and you want to be compliant. So I told you that sometimes I was asked, do we still have room for expansion? And here I prepared something for you that I think is going to answer the question. Nearly 90% of all e-commerce sales come from the top 10 e-commerce markets. That means significant room for growth from newer markets. I was checking data from November 2024 that would support this information, but you can also see the fast-growing e-commerce markets. That's also from the end of 2024, because I've seen a couple of versions of this chart. Philippines, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Mexico. Actually, pay attention to Mexico, because Mexico is a really fast-growing market right now. And Vietnam, South Korea. But maybe not only it's the population, high population, that makes a difference and makes these countries develop really fast, but there are many other aspects. And first of all, society goes more and more digital, market penetration is higher than before. We observe that. And a really interesting case for me, it was Indonesia, because when I was checking numbers, when I was checking forecast by 2023, you can see that the prediction is 150 billion USD, and it's going to grow from 65 billion in 2024. So this is something also that you can take into consideration. You can think about if you would like to go further, not only to Europe. But another thing, if you would like to stay here in Europe, within European Union, and I'm not saying that only because I'm from Poland and I've been dealing a lot with the Polish market, but I'm also saying that because all of the data supports that. Really great market where you can develop is Poland, and you can see that the country is not so big as Germany, but the prediction is 26 million users by 2029. And also you can see that the penetration will be 71 by 2029. So also I would pay attention to these markets. But then I think we're going to enter now my favorite part, because I told you that I was working with many international companies that wanted to start operating abroad. And then let's answer the question how we can start operating abroad and avoid unexpected costs. Sometimes I call it unnecessary expenses, because they are unnecessary. First question that I would ask is, how familiar are you really, and that's the key word, with your target market? Do you believe you know your target market, or you just, really know you've done the research? Because at this point, when I talk to companies I was working with, I always tell them, the research, that's the key thing that can make you save a lot of money. So once you would like to enter a foreign market, especially a market that you don't know, it's really worth to work with a consulting company, or maybe from some kind of like a native people from the local markets, and ask them what they really think about your idea. Because we can have really interesting cases like legal obstacles, but also cultural differences. And these are my favorite ones. I'm going to start with the legal obstacles. Another market that is really close to me, it's Mexico. That was not that I mentioned that before, but because all of the data also indicate that it's growing really fast. But there was a case of a Mexican company that wanted to start selling tomatoes in Canada. Their business plan was perfect, everything was perfect, until they realized that the pesticides that they were using in Mexico couldn't be used in Canada. And these kind of things, they really need to be taken into consideration before we make like a significant investment. The cultural differences. And also, that's my favorite case, German bed linen case versus Europe. I believe that most of us, or maybe like some part of the people here are from Germany, so you can always correct me if I'm wrong. But in Germany, in many regions, it's kind of usual that people have their own bed clothing. It means that for one bed, it's normal to buy 2 sets. So you would have your own pillow, and then you would have your own blanket or bed clothing for your blanket. But that was a really big cultural shock in Poland. So we are observing, not only in Poland, but I will base this example on that market. We're observing the numbers. The products were great. Everything was going like perfectly fine in Germany. What could happen? Until we realized what we were selling. So in Poland, customers thought that we were selling bath clothing for kids, but they were too small for a standard bed. But also, they didn't understand why they would need to buy 2 of them. So this kind of things, there are a lot of cultural differences I can talk about, but this kind of things I really would take into consideration, really check how the product can be sold abroad. Because sometimes what I see the companies do, and of course it's like a way that make them also save some money. They try to implement the strategy one-to-one. What I sell here, I can also sell abroad, but be careful with that because sometimes it's up to the product that you can sell. Another question, is the customer base big enough? Even if you're going to enter a really large market with a lot of like potential customers, it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful if your product is actually not, I would say, established. So I used to work with a brand that was a sport brand and wanted to sell their products also abroad. And what we realized really, really fast was that it was investment for 5-10 years, even to open customers and find potential customers for the idea what they wanted to sell. So that's also something that I recommend you before you go internationally. And my favorite keyword, if you would like to be successful abroad on a different market, is localization. Maybe there are some colleagues from Allegro here. They know what I'm talking about. A lot of successful brands that became really big and they are still, continue growing is because of that, because of localization, because they try to adjust the strategy to the local market completely. And I have like this kind of formula that I developed and I would like to share with you. Verify if your shop system and warehouse management system can provide a fully professional and customer-friendly, customized experience that generates trust. And you have another keyword here. If you want to be better than other shops, trust. Because customers, they need to trust you. And here I'm going to give you another example, native language at a professional level. What does it mean? One of my customers had like a perfect system for the DACH region. Everything, there was nothing we could complain about. But once we started to work with the product fit, we just realized that it would be completely different and really expensive to operate abroad where the font is different. And the basic problem was that the font couldn't be translated. And you can tell me, yeah, you can use special characters. You cannot use them sometimes. Sometimes they're not going to be sent to another system. It's not going to work and it requires a lot of manual job. So also make sure like you can make a small test with a couple of products, top 20, but check before how your system is going to react with a completely different country, with different font, different currency. I know that like a lot of providers, they have solutions for that, but test them before, check if it's really going to work because it might be a couple of months, sometimes couple of years of extra work. And also, people, customers, and we see that when we check also like why people abandon the shopping cart, they believe in local payment methods. So what works in Germany not necessarily works in other countries, and people expect to see the payment methods that they are familiar with because it also generates trust, and believe me, they are going to buy from you more often, or even they are going to make the first purchase if it's important for you at the first level. Another thing is to check if you connect your shop with the most important marketplaces on the market, and check if it's really Amazon. Because I know that sometimes we go with Amazon, we want to be there because it's kind of easier solution, but I would say check if you really want to be maybe on a different marketplaces before, because it can give you then amazing branding afterwards. Imagine that you are in the most important marketplace, and then people are going to look for you because they also trust you. So I would start from the trust perspective, that this is why this is so important. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be fast because my time is running. And here, I'm going to give you maybe a tip for Allegro. Please remember that once you agree to the username, you cannot change it afterwards. It's going to be important for you at some point because you can save a lot of money on branding or performance marketing. So this is also some of the tips that I would have for you. Local delivery solutions. I know that sometimes we have contracts that they don't allow us to be connected like to different delivery companies, but also check what is the most important one on the local market, because it might be completely different, and it's worth like trying what kind of like a setup you would like to decide for. And legal environment. I mentioned that before, I told you that, but I'm going to repeat that. Sometimes local and, requirements at national level are really strict, and they might be strict, even stricter than in Germany. So please check also this kind of legal requirements for the country. So my message for you is that once you go abroad, once you want to try different markets, think about how to generate trust so people are not going to make the first purchase, but they're also going to stay with you for longer. And of course, if you have any other questions, you can contact me afterwards. It can be about just e-commerce or international expansion, and I'm going to be happy to help you with that. Thank you very much.